A mother called me to describe a situation that had happened earlier that day at school, mostly between her son Billy and his first grade teacher. Billy was thoroughly focused on drawing with crayons on a large piece of paper there in his class, which was apparently something he was supposed to be doing. Possibly an unusual thing, not really. He's a good kid. So he's drawing with crayons, and attempting to get his attention, his classmate, Eve, said, "Billy," and you've all seen kids do this with each other and with you. "Mama, look, look." She said, "Billy, look at this." Now remember, he's drawing with a crayon, waving around her own just completed work of art. When people want you to see something they've done, they can be very insistent. As intent as Billy was on what he was doing, it's unlikely that the first time he even heard Eve speak. He really focuses on what he does. But then Eve vigorously repeated her command and raised her voice as she said, "Look at this, look at this." And she did it repeatedly with increasing volume and physical proximity. She got closer and closer to him. It became obvious that Billy now was hearing Eve's demands for his attention, but he was choosing to continue his own creative efforts. He had decided to sit down and with crayons draw something, and by golly, he was going to finish it. Eve was not happy with his choice, so her demands became louder and more insistent. Finally, the teacher came over to Billy's table and said, quote, "Billy, you can't ignore people like this. It's rude," end quote. And my first thought was, it's really a good thing for her that I wasn't in the room. Billy wouldn't have been unkind, just she would have seen it from a different perspective. Billy respectfully stopped what he was doing, looked at his teacher to acknowledge that she had spoken, but then silently returned to his work. That is some kind of guts. The teacher repeated her demand in different words, but Billy was unmoved. Determined to control this interaction, because teachers and parents tend to do that. You don't do what they want, they get more controlling. So the teacher said to Billy, quote, "You need to apologize to Eve for ignoring her," end quote. The teacher, having made one mistake, decided, let's go all the way and just be as wrong as we possibly can. Billy, who's age 6, set down his crayons because his teacher is now directing him to do something, looked directly into the eyes of his teacher. Remember now, he's 6 years old. And he said, quote, "My mother told me that I don't have to apologize when I haven't done anything wrong," end quote. Brilliant. The teacher tried in several ways to elicit the desired apology, but Billy simply repeated the same answer. I mean, I wish I could teach this to adults. You tell people what you are or are not going to do, and when they then try to persuade you otherwise, you don't engage them with the details of their argument. You just repeat what you said. At the end of the school day, the teacher was waiting for Billy's mother when she arrived to take Billy home. The teacher explained to Mother the crime, no kidding, that Billy had committed earlier in the day, and Mother, who had been educated in effective parenting, responded in this way. She said, quote, "Thank you for telling me this. Just so you won't be frustrated in the future, you might benefit from knowing that Billy has been taught at home that other than being obedient to his parents, he is not obligated to satisfy the demands of other people. He has been given permission, encouragement even, to make his own choices." Now, that wouldn't include things like if you as the teacher assign them to pull out their books and read. He will do that. But if he's directed to do something that is optional, where he has a choice to make, he'll make his own choices. And he's been encouraged to do that rather than to be controlled by other people. He has been told to follow adult authority figures like you, but not when they're requiring him to do something that is either wrong or optional, like taking responsibility for something that he didn't cause, like with the little girl. End quote. The teacher, listening to none of this, all she cared about was being in control, said, "But he was rude." Mom said, "I'm grateful that you told me about the situation. Now, Mom is going to do the same thing she taught her son. She's simply going to repeat herself. She's not going to engage her." "I'm grateful you told me about the situation," Mom said, without over-explaining herself or engaging in confrontation. When you've got a barking dog yapping at you, you don't yap back, you walk away. The teacher couldn't quite handle the matter over to the mother. She was determined to have control. So she said, so you'll talk to him about it." Mom's thinking, I'm answering this pretty clearly. She said, quote, "I will talk to him about his choices and the price that we pay for our choices, but I will not tell him to pay attention to another student because he doesn't have to. That's not a requirement for us as human beings or as students. He will stop what he's doing and pay attention to you as his teacher, which apparently he did when he stopped what he was doing to look at you and to listen to what you were saying. But he has no obligation to be obedient to a fellow student, nor to apologize when he did nothing wrong, even if he's told to by an adult authority figure." End quote. Sounds complicated to some people who are controllers, but to people who want to learn to make their own choices, this is not complicated. The teacher began to speak again. She was like, I am not leaving the field until somebody's arms have been lopped off. So Mom just gently interrupted her and said, "Thanks for talking to me. Now I need to get home to the other kids." End quote. At home, Mother explained to Billy, as she had many times before, the law of choice. Remember, he's six, and he's getting this. And how he had the right to make his own choices. On this occasion, however, she emphasized the law of responsibility, which is the unavoidable companion to the law of choice. Mom said, people can ask you anytime to do something for them, but you always have a choice about how you respond. Just remember that you are also then responsible for the choice that you make. Refusing a request from a policeman, for example, would generally be considered unwise because you would likely be arrested. If you choose to take something from a store, you must be willing to take responsibility for paying for it, or, to put it back with the policeman, being arrested for it. Generally, if your teacher requests that you do something like pull out a book to read or answer a question, you are responsible for answering it. The wise choice is simply to be obedient to adult authority figures. Your teacher, however, asked you to apologize for something that was not wrong. So the best thing to do is to tell her what you've been taught at home, and then if she repeats herself, tell her that she can work it out with me. End quote. Okay, this is genius parenting. To teach a child choice, responsibility, and this child has it down so cold that when the teacher got all animated and the kid got all animated, Billy's going, I don't know what you're all riled about, but I'm going to finish my drawing. And as Mom's explaining this, Billy's nodding his head, kind of going, okay, I understand this even better than before. Mom continued. She said, quote, "Now, the request from Eve, did you have to give her the attention she demanded? No. But could you have handled it better? Let's look at it. You might have simply said to her something like this, quote, "I'll be done drawing this figure in just a few seconds, and then I'll look at your drawing," end quote. Now, you didn't have to do that, but if you had, she might have felt cared for enough that you would have been able to finish what you were doing with little delay, and then you would have had good practice loving people while you were being interrupted. Just give her a brief explanation. But again, I'm not telling you you had to do it. I'm just giving you additional choices. Or, Mom continues, you might have said, quote, "I have just a little more I want to do right now. I don't need to finish the whole drawing, but I need to finish this one little part because it's, just coming out of me. So if you'll show your drawing to one other person first, then I'll look at your drawing after that," end quote. See, Mom's teaching the kid how to socially interact with people who are demanding and entitled. This is brilliant stuff to learn at age 6 because you're going to have to learn how to deal with people like this. You just well start early. Mom continues, there are lots of possibilities that you can practice where you can practice making choices where everybody wins, but you're never forced to do what someone else wants, short of being handcuffed and thrown into a police car. Even if you do satisfy somebody's request or demand, you can do it because you choose to be loving, not because they demand it or you feel like you have to, end quote. After all of that explaining, Billy looks at his mom, smiles, and says, "I like making choices." This is too good for words. Tell me what you'd give to have children who were so self-assured that their feathers aren't ruffled by a yelling classmate or a demanding teacher, and yet they're doing the right thing. Or imagine you educating your child in how to live with people who are difficult. This is pretty fun. And of course he likes making choices. We all do, but we have little experience with making them freely. We usually make choices to please people or to avoid their disapproval, so we feel trapped. We can help our children to experience the exhilaration of choices that they make freely. Freedom and joy. That's what we're here to give our kids.